When Einstein was young, teachers told his parents that he should not be expected to succeed. They thought he was naughty and even hopeless. Moreover, he had speech problems and was so far behind in school that he was unable to pass his final exams for a long time. Teachers and peers considered him to be almost feeble-minded. So why did Einstein, despite his intelligence and discoveries, never believed in his own success? The answer to this question reveals a shocking side of the genius scientist's life that few people know about. It's hard to imagine, but Albert Einstein, whose name has become a symbol of scientific genius, faced many difficulties throughout his life, especially in his youth. His path was far from easy, and it often seemed that he was not at all suited for a scientific career. When Einstein enrolled at the Polytechnicum, a prestigious university in Switzerland, his dream was jeopardized. He failed the entrance exams and had to seriously reconsider his plans. The man we consider a genius today was denied admission because of poor grades in his exams. But despite this, Albert did not give up trying and eventually entered the Polytechnic, becoming one of the few students who were genuinely interested in science. However, even after graduation, the difficulties continued. In search of work, Einstein faced not the most flattering proposal. He was offered to become an insurance agent. The managers of the company to which he applied considered that for scientific activity, he is not qualified enough. For Albert, it was another blow. Paradoxically, his intellect, ideas, and approach to science seemed strange and unnecessary to most people around him at the time. Einstein did not fit within the standards and expectations of the time, and this was not only his disadvantage, but also an unusual advantage. Through trials and rejections, he learned to think differently, not to rely on other people's evaluations, and to follow his own path. It was this singularity that made him who he became. Admission difficulties and humiliating job offers seemed like setbacks, but they actually played an important role in his life. Einstein saw the world outside of conventional standards and began to seek answers to questions that to others seemed meaningless. Perhaps if he had been immediately accepted into a polytechnic or offered a prestigious job, he would not have discovered the theories that changed the world. So why, despite his achievements, did Einstein continue to see himself as a failure? What was behind his inner doubts, and what other challenges awaited him along the way? Although we know Einstein as a great scientist, his personal life was far from perfect. Outside of science, he experienced serious dramas and hardships that left deep wounds on his soul and made him doubt himself. Few people know, but Einstein had a secret daughter, Lieserl, about whom he rarely spoke. She was born in 1902, long before he became famous. Einstein and his first wife, Mileva, never officially recognized the girl, and little is known about her fate. According to some reports, the girl died at an early age. According to others, she was given up for adoption. This secret rejection of his daughter became a heavy burden for Einstein, which he carried all his life. The family dramas did not end there. Einstein married twice, but because of his scientific pursuits, he was often absent, leaving his family alone. His first wife, Mileva, with whom he had 2 sons, suffered from loneliness and financial difficulties when Einstein was fully immersed in science. Their marriage broke up, and the scientist himself, though still a father, was rarely around his children. His second marriage also did not bring him marital happiness. His second wife, Elsa, understood his lifestyle, but their family life was far from ideal. Constant moving, scientific conferences, and working on complex theories did not allow him to devote enough time to his family. Perhaps it was because of this that he felt a deep sense of guilt about his absence from the lives of his loved ones. Einstein realized that he was not a perfect husband and father, and this feeling led him to leave large sums to his second wife, Elsa, and his children in his will. This act was a way for him to somehow compensate for his absence and an attempt to express his love, which he did not always know how to show. Einstein's family dramas show that even great people can experience pain and disappointment, especially in their personal lives. This added to his sense of failure. In the world of science, he was at the top, but at home he remained a man who could not find a balance between science and family. It might seem that the man who discovered the theory of relativity should have been proud of his accomplishments. However, for Einstein, his greatest discoveries were a source of constant doubt and even shame. He considered himself a failure for the rest of his life and did not always believe that his ideas would be useful. When Einstein first published the theory of relativity, he expected the scientific world to take an interest in it. But instead, his work sparked a wave of criticism. Many scientists did not understand how his ideas could work at all, and some found them to be nonsense. Einstein had to listen not only to scientific comments, but also outright insults, and sometimes he even received threats from people who disagreed with his views. Feeling that the world was against him made Einstein doubt himself even more. His theory led to the idea of black holes, mysterious objects from which not even light can escape. Einstein himself did not believe in the existence of black holes for a long time and called them the result of a shameful error in his calculations. He believed that such objects contradicted the laws of nature and that their existence was simply impossible. The irony is that today black holes are confirmed by observations, but Einstein, despite his genius, could not accept this in his lifetime. These doubts show that Einstein was not blindly confident in his genius. He perceived his discoveries not as the pinnacle of success, but as potential failure, as mistakes for which he would be ridiculed. This feeling made him vulnerable, but at the same time forced him to test and retest his ideas. Could it be that it was this insecurity that helped him reach such heights? Or did it only add pain and doubt to his life? It seems that fame and success should bring joy, but for Einstein they turned out to be a real test. The world fame to which he came after his discoveries became for him not only pride, but also a heavy burden. He felt out of place and was often lonely. After becoming famous, Einstein faced an endless stream of people wanting to shake his hand, talk to him, or get his autograph. But it was hard for him to accept such popularity. He actually disliked crowds and public events. For example, he avoided big meetings and official receptions where crowds of fans were waiting for him. At such times, he preferred to simply hide. In letters, he wrote more than once that it was much more pleasant for him to stay alone or in a small company of close people than to speak in front of a huge audience. Despite universal acclaim, Einstein often said that he felt lonely. In his writings, he referred to his world as a world of lonely people. For him, real communication was conversations with a narrow circle of friends and colleagues. He tended to discuss ideas and philosophy with those who really understood him, not just admired his name. This sense of loneliness stayed with him even when he was known throughout the world. Einstein learned to be withdrawn and secretive, but he did not become disillusioned with his surroundings. On the contrary, he found value in the few people who were around. Perhaps this is what helped him to survive the difficulties when crowds of people were waiting for his attention and he wanted only one thing: silence. But what else made Einstein feel like a failure? Why didn't he see his accomplishments as real success until the end of his life? Albert Einstein lived a life full of amazing discoveries, but was he happy? Despite his worldwide fame, he was never able to feel like a truly successful and fulfilled person. He considered himself more of a failure than a great scientist, and this feeling stayed with him for the rest of his life. Einstein did not seek adoration and honors. In his will, he specifically directed that his body be burned in secret, without loud ceremonies or monuments. He wanted to be remembered not as an idol, but as an ordinary man who devoted himself to science. However, even after his death, this wish was not fully fulfilled. Against his will, his brain was secretly removed without his family's consent and studied by scientists for decades. This act caused a scandal, ironically showing how far the world can go in its quest to understand the secrets of genius. Einstein realized that his life became more than just the story of a scientist. His personality, his brain, and his ideas had become an object of worship, which he himself regarded with disbelief. He realized that his image was only a part of his life, and far from the whole truth about him. Behind his scientific successes was a man who did not feel completely happy, who sought solitude and doubted his discoveries. Einstein taught us many things, but perhaps his greatest lesson is that genius and happiness are not the same thing.